gonna try driving in the snow round 2. So we are currently going downhill a little bit, doing about 45 miles an hour. As you can see, well, hopefully you can see it in the left lane there, the tracks from somebody else in front of us. It's pretty much getting all the way down to the asphalt there. So even though there's a little bit of snow sticking on the road, as we're driving through here, the tires are still making pretty good contact with the asphalt. Once we get a little straight section, I'm going to tap the brakes a little bit. So I do this to see how much traction I have available to me. So right here, we're going to get on the brakes. So I was on the brakes fairly hard there. As far as like normal brake use, just stop and go traffic, that's probably about 20% more than what I would normally do just in regular everyday traffic. Now, as far as like overall, maximum traction on a dry pavement on a dry day, we probably have about 70% of traction compared to that. Pretty good traction. So again, we're doing 45 miles an hour here. We can probably safely be doing 50s pretty safe. This is a 55 mile an hour zone, and 55 miles an hour is probably right at the edge of pushing it. You could probably do it with good tires and all-wheel drive. It'd be just fine going through there. But again, point being is what I'll do is, you don't want to hit the brakes when you're going around a corner, because if there's not enough traction, that'll cause you to slide. But you get a nice, good straight, like right here is a perfect example. You got on a nice straight, slowly apply your brakes until you feel you lose traction, and then immediately let back off. And that way you know how much traction you have. So like right now, we're not going downhill anymore, so we don't have to worry about losing traction by braking to slow us down. I'm doing 60 miles an hour, and no problem at all. Zero concern about traction in this environment. And as you can see, seeing the asphalt, there's a lot more visible asphalt, which means that the snow that's coming down isn't sticking to the road, which is another key thing. When the snow isn't sticking to the road, you have almost as good a traction as you do if it was like wet, if it was a rainy day. And wet traction is really not that much reduced from dry traction too, to be honest with you. So 60 miles an hour through this, no problem at all. The other thing that I will do is I'll use the accelerator to see how much traction I have. Especially, not so much now. 60 miles an hour is a bad time to use that method, because you spin out, it's much harder to recover than if you're using your brakes. But if you're doing, 30 miles an hour, maybe 40 miles an hour, hit your gas, wide open, or kind of gradually roll into wide open throttle until you break traction. And that way you know how much traction you have to accelerate. It works great. And then, from there you kind of figure out your limits of what you're comfortable driving at. So again, same thing. This is a 65 mile an hour zone. We're doing 60 miles an hour. Again, 65 is kind of pushing it. I don't quite feel comfortable at 65 miles an hour, but 60, not a problem at all. Especially being able to see the asphalt as well as we are right here. Now, the only caveat to that is, as you can see, people in general aren't using the left lane, so snow's building up over there quite a bit more. And what you'll find is if you shift over to the left lane, there are going to be these little humps of snow and slush that you have to get over. And that'll, when your tire hits those, it'll kind of pull it a little bit, and that can cause you to get into a slide or a spin. But as long as you know that that's going to happen and you prepare for that, again, if you drive the appropriate speed and you kind of react to that as it happens, it's not a problem at all to use that left lane over there. This person in front of me, they're slowing down to about 55. So my choices are, I can push and go into that left lane to do the 60 miles an hour that I would want to do, or I can just hang out behind them doing 55. Yeah, I'll just hang out behind them doing 55. Not worth the risk to me to jump on over that left lane. I'm sure it'd be fine, but not worth the risk. This guy's moving along pretty good. We're going down an elevation, so the snow's going to get less and less. This guy looks like he's pretty confident driver in the snow, so I'll just follow him. to show you guys all this traffic passing this guy that's going slow on the right here. Now this is about perfect. So again, we've got really good visibility to the asphalt underneath us. It's pretty much, when we're in the ruts, it's pretty much like driving on wet asphalt. Just, you know, like rainy day, aside from the slush in the sides here. But again, the slush isn't too bad. So we're going to do the same thing. We drift over here, we go through some slush, it kind of pulls us around. No big deal. We lose a little bit of traction as we make those transitions. But then we get right back on asphalt and we got all the traction in the world again. We're going to do the same thing coming back over here. Pulls us around a little bit, no big deal. We get right back on the asphalt and you're good to go. So I wanted to do just a real quick addendum on driving in the snow. I was hoping to see, so this guy using his brakes in front of us. When you're going downhill, you really want to try to avoid using your brakes as much as possible. And to do that, like what I'm doing right now, is I downshifted into a lower gear, and then that allows the engine braking to slow me down. That way, if I need to use my brakes to slow down, I can, and that'll give me a little bit of extra control and a little bit of extra braking. Whereas the guy in front of me, he's 100% relying on his brakes to slow him down. It's much less controlled doing it that way. Sure, you can do it that way, it works just fine. But for me, I like the engine braking, and that allows me to, you know, it gives me some feedback to what the conditions are. You know, if I downshift and I feel loss of traction a little bit, and then I kind of gauge, you know, how much traction I've got and what have you.